6 days before the wedding, Tiffany went out to dinner with her best friend, Rachel. She left my apartment around 6:45 p.m., wearing her favorite navy coat. They had a reservation at a new place Rachel wanted to try. I told her to call me afterward. She said, "Don't wait up." Those were the last words she said to me. By 10:30 p.m., I hadn't heard from her. I texted her, but got no response. At 11:15 p.m., I called and it went straight to voicemail. By midnight, I was pacing. I tried calling Rachel, who picked up on the second ring. "Hey, Lucas," she said, sounding tired. "Everything okay?" I asked if Tiffany was with her. Rachel paused and said Tiffany had left around 9 p.m., not feeling well and heading home early. She mentioned Tiffany had a headache but didn't seem upset. I told Rachel that Tiffany hadn't come home, and she offered to help look for her. We hadn't officially moved in together, Tiffany's lease was still active. We planned to combine our places after the honeymoon. I had already tried calling Tiffany, but Rachel offered to drive around and check if Tiffany's car was at her apartment. I grabbed my keys and by 1 a.m., I had circled her building 3 times. Her car wasn't there, and the lights were off. No sign of her. I called her again, but it went to voicemail. That's when my unease turned into panic. I drove to the hospital, then another, but found nothing. I called the police, but they said unless there were signs of danger or she had been gone for over 24 hours, there wasn't much they could do. They took a report anyway. I showed them our save the dates, photos, and her driver's license info. They asked if we had argued recently. We hadn't. Around 4 a.m., I sat on the edge of our bed, surrounded by vendor contracts and half-filled suitcases. I remember staring at her dress bag hanging in the corner. Everything was supposed to be done, everything scheduled, and Tiffany was just gone. By the next afternoon, the panic had turned into confusion. Calls kept going to voicemail. Her sister and father hadn't heard from her either. No one knew anything. Rachel checked in again, just as rattled as I was. That night, the police called. They had located Tiffany, alive and unharmed, staying in a rental cabin near Lake Roslyn, about 2 hours north of the city. She was alone, with no accident or foul play. She had left voluntarily and hadn't contacted anyone, her family, Rachel, or me. According to the officer, she needed space, wasn't in danger, and made it clear she didn't want any visitors, including me. That's when the truth finally sank in. She had disappeared by choice. I stared at the wall for a long time after that. We had been together for 4 years. Tiffany was precise, the kind of person who color-coded her grocery list. We had spreadsheets for the wedding, timelines, and now she was in a cabin no one knew about, days before the ceremony. That night, I started making calls. First, the venue, a $6,000 deposit gone. Then the caterer, $3,200 non-refundable. The florist gave a partial refund minus a $900 cancellation fee. Every call felt like a door closing. By the time I reached the travel agent about the honeymoon in Bice, the trip Tiffany insisted on booking early, I wasn't even surprised. Flights and resort, non-refundable, another $4,500. The ring was the last thing I dealt with. It sat in its little velvet box on my desk as if waiting for her to come back and change her mind. I stared at it for 3 days. Tiffany had picked the design, and it cost me $11,000 for the custom work, with no financing. I took it back to the same place. The owner gave me a quiet look when I opened the box. After inspecting it, he sighed and offered me $6,200. I knew that was a hit, but I took it. There wasn't time to feel bad about it. The refunds weren't coming. The accounts were draining. My savings were gutted, and I still had to pay my rent. So, I started clearing the apartment. She kept a lot at my place, enough that it felt like she lived there half the time. Now I was packing all of it, her shoes, toiletries, curling iron still plugged in. All of it, boxed and stacked neatly by the hall closet. I wasn't angry yet, just focused. That's when Carol, Tiffany's mom, called. "Lucas," she said softly. "We just heard from the police. She's all right." I stayed quiet. "We're shocked. We don't understand. She hasn't even returned our calls." "She hasn't called me either," I said. There was a pause. "Is the wedding still happening?" "No," I said. "I've cancelled everything." Another pause. "Oh," she said, followed by silence. Then, "We didn't raise her to be this way." I didn't answer. What would have been the point? After the call ended, I opened a spreadsheet and started tracking every dollar. I wasn't planning revenge, I was planning closure. 3 days after selling the ring, I was in a conference room reviewing site blueprints with a client when Tanya, our receptionist, peeked in. "Lucas, sorry, someone's here to see you. Says it's urgent." I excused myself, thinking it might be a vendor or a last-minute issue to handle. Then I walked into the lobby. There was Tiffany, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, with pale red around her eyes like she hadn't slept. She wore a hoodie and leggings, not her usual polished self. I stopped 10 feet from her. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I need to talk to you," she said, her voice thin and fragile. "Here at my job." I didn't know where else to go. My boss stepped out of his office down the hall and raised an eyebrow at me. I gave him a nod. "Just a minute." Tiffany tried to come closer, but I didn't move. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. I panicked. "I didn't know how to tell you." "So, you didn't." I needed to clear my head. "I didn't plan for it to go that long. You left 6 days before our wedding. You ghosted me, your family, everyone. You disappeared." "I know," she whispered. "Police had to find you, Tiffany." "I'm sorry," she said again, starting to cry. This wasn't cold feet. This was disappearing like a fugitive. I didn't want to lie. Rachel was the only one I could talk to, but she told me to stop being selfish, and I just couldn't deal. "You couldn't deal, so I got stuck with the bills." She looked at me like that hadn't even occurred to her. "I cancelled everything. I sold the ring." That stopped her. "What? You sold it?" "I paid for it. Like, I paid for most of the wedding. The ring covered some of the losses. Not nearly enough." Her voice shot up. "That ring was based on my grandmother's style. You had no right." "No right?" "Tiffany, you walked away. You forfeited everything the minute you disappeared without a word." I was scared and blindsided. At least one of us still had to clean up the mess. Tiffany whispered, "Please, Lucas, don't end it like this. It ended the moment you left." She stood there shaking. I pointed toward the door. "Go." Later that night, my phone lit up. It was Carol again. I let it ring once, then picked it up. "Lucas," she said, "I spoke to Tiffany." "Yeah, she showed up at my office, caused a scene in front of my team. She told me she's devastated." "I'm sure she is." A pause, then, "We understand the wedding's cancelled, but there's the matter of the honeymoon. We gave you 2 $5,000 gifts. We'd like it returned, at least partially." I held the phone a little tighter. "You want it back?" "Well, it was meant for the honeymoon, which obviously isn't happening. It was spent, Carol." Tiffany picked the resort. The deposit and the flights were non-refundable. "But if you cancelled?" I did cancel after Tiffany vanished. I was still charged because it was too close to the departure date. The resort policy was clear. Still, we feel that money wasn't used as intended. I exhaled. "Carol, I've lost nearly $18,000 in the last 5 days. The ring only covered a third of it." I paid for the venue, the catering, the photographer, and the florist, most of which you didn't contribute to. I also had to cover the florist's $900 cancellation fee when you and your husband didn't pay your portion on time. We never agreed to that amount. You agreed to the flowers. I have the emails. Her voice hardened. I don't think you understand how difficult this has been for Tiffany. No, I do understand. She ran away without a word. That caused real damage, Carol. Financial, emotional, and public. And now you're calling to ask for your gift back after she humiliated me and left me to pay for her disappearance. She made a mistake. A bad one. But you're being cold. Cold as disappearing without telling anyone. Cold as making your fiancé cancel your wedding alone. I'm just being clear. This is unfair, Lucas. What's unfair? I said, my voice flat, are you expecting me to carry your family's mess and then pay you back for the privilege? If you refuse, we may have to consider other options. Try me, I said. But next time you'll hear from a lawyer, and I hung up. The next morning, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and a folder full of receipts. I pulled up the wedding budget file Tiffany and I had built together, every vendor, every deposit, cancellation fee, bank statement, screenshot, and email. I included Carol and her husband's unpaid florist balance. Their $5,000 honeymoon gift was clearly applied to the Blees Resort, a line item Tiffany had approved and booked herself. I printed 3 copies, bound them, and sent them registered mail, one for Tiffany, one for Carol, and one for their attorney, just in case they decided to test me. A few days later, I got a text from Rachel, just a heads up, your spreadsheet caused a nuclear meltdown. Good. Carol and Tiffany had opened it together. I wasn't there, but Chloe said Tiffany screamed. Carol accused her of ruining the family's reputation. Rachel also told me something she had never mentioned before. When Tiffany left that night, she told me she wasn't sure she could go through with the wedding. I told her to call you. She didn't. I'm sorry. You're not responsible for her choices, I replied. A few more days passed, and then the fallout began. Word started to spread. A mutual friend, Derek, reached out after hearing Tiffany's version of events. She was telling people I had gotten cold feet, that I pushed her away, and that the wedding was called off because of me. But the cracks in her story were already showing. People had seen her show up at my office in the middle of the workday. Some had witnessed the breakdown, the argument, and the way she looked, shaken and desperate. The story she was trying to spin didn't match the reality others had seen firsthand. She had also claimed I sold the engagement ring out of spite just to hurt her. But that narrative didn't hold up either. The truth was simple, that ring covered part of the wedding expenses she had left me to deal with. As the facts started circulating, so did the shift in perception. People were beginning to see the full picture, and they were no longer buying what she was selling. I didn't need to destroy her. I just needed the truth to sit in the open long enough. Tiffany had buried herself. All I did was keep receipts. Apparently, Carol had tried to rally the family behind her, claiming I had abandoned the relationship prematurely. But the spreadsheet blew holes in every part of that narrative. The receipts showed the truth. More importantly, Tiffany's dramatic scene at my office, in public, in front of colleagues, made it hard for her to play the victim card. Even Rachel, her best friend, started backing away. Too much drama, too many lies, she told me later. Tiffany thought everyone would blame you. But the way she handled this, no one's defending her. Her attempt to spin a narrative that I was cold, uncommunicative, maybe even controlling, fizzled fast. No one could reconcile that version with how I calmly handled the aftermath or the financial facts I laid bare. Some mutual friends cut her off. Others just stopped responding. People moved on, just not the way Tiffany expected. And me? I was still showing up to work, still paying off the mess, still sleeping alone in a half-packed apartment. But I wasn't broken. I wasn't bitter. I was clean. And I had done something she never thought I would, draw a line. Not with a scream, not with revenge, just with a spreadsheet and a locked door. It's been 6 months since the wedding that never happened. Barely a whisper now. The date passed like a normal Saturday, no calls, just quiet. The couch we picked out together. Sold it. Replaced everything she'd chosen. Not out of spite, just didn't want reminders. I hit the gym more, got promoted at work. The job kept me grounded. Numbers didn't lie. Deadlines didn't ghost you. As for dating, not yet. I've had opportunities, coffee invites, a setup or two, but I'm not rushing it. Trust feels like something you rebuild, not replace. Every once in a while, I open the spreadsheet. Not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. It's still there, the facts, the way the whole thing played out, line by line, what I paid, what I lost, what I absorbed, so no one else had to. Tiffany sent one email after the dust had settled. 2 paragraphs, sorry for the pain I caused. I wasn't myself. Hope one day you can forgive me. I didn't reply. What would I even say? Forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. And I didn't need her permission to move forward. She made her bed. Now she's lying in it at her parents' place, unemployed, blaming the world for her own storm. Me? I sleep just fine. The truth didn't just set me free. It protected me. All I did was document the facts and walk away. No rage, no theatrics, no slamming doors. She blew up her life. I just made sure I didn't go down with it.